Welcome to Capital Catch-Up, your deep dive into the halls of Congress. I am Victor.
And I am Leanie. Today we are breaking down some major legislative moves, from government spending and national security to a proposed constitutional amendment that could change how vacancies in the House of Representatives are filled.
Let us start with a massive piece of legislation that keeps the wheels of government turning. That is House Bill 7148, also known as the Consolidated Appropriations Act 2026. This is the comprehensive funding package for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2026.
Right, Victor, this bill allocates significant resources across a wide range of departments. We are talking about the Department of Defense, which covers everything from military personnel and operations to procurement and research. It also funds the Departments of Labor, Health and Human Services, and Education, along with agencies handling transportation, housing, urban development, financial services, and national security.
It is not just about broad federal funding, though. House Bill 7148 also includes specific provisions for continuing appropriations, technical corrections, healthcare extenders, and even a designated payment to the widow of a deceased member of Congress. It is a highly structured effort to maintain government operations and support both national security and vital social programs.
It really is the backbone of federal operations. Speaking of national security, the House has also been laying the groundwork to debate a very controversial topic: surveillance. House Resolution 1175 was introduced to establish the procedural framework for considering House Resolution 8035.
Yes, House Resolution 8035 aims to extend critical surveillance authorities under Title VII of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, or FISA, through October 20th, 2027. Now, for our listeners who might not be familiar with the legislative process, House Resolution 1175 is what we call a rule resolution. It streamlines the debate by waiving points of order against the bill and setting specific parameters for floor proceedings.
Exactly. In this case, it sets aside 1 hour of debate, which is equally divided between the House Judiciary and Intelligence Committees. By formalizing these rules, the House is trying to ensure a structured debate before they hold a final vote on extending these powerful national security surveillance capabilities. It is a delicate balance between intelligence gathering and civil liberties.
Absolutely, Lainey. And speaking of the structure of Congress itself, there is a fascinating proposal on the table. House Joint Resolution 199 is proposing an amendment to the United States Constitution to temporarily fill vacancies in the House of Representatives.
This is all about ensuring the continuity of Congress in the event of unexpected tragedies. Under House Joint Resolution 199, representatives would be required to submit a list of at least 5 pre-approved designees when they first take office. If a vacancy occurs due to the death of a member, the state's chief executive would immediately appoint one of those pre-approved individuals to serve temporarily.
Right, and that temporary appointment would last until a formal special election can be held. The main goal here is to prevent prolonged legislative disruptions and maintain a full quorum in the House if disaster strikes. It is a highly structured mechanism for immediate succession.
It is a remarkable procedural safeguard. Now, let us shift our focus to some of the new bills that have just been introduced. There is a wide variety of topics being addressed. For instance, House Bill 9578 addresses a very modern issue by requiring that artificial intelligence-generated content be labeled as such, either through metadata or other technological means.
That is a big deal for transparency in the digital age. On the financial and consumer front, House Bill 9576 proposes to establish the National Fraud Enforcement Division within the Department of Justice. And House Bill 9574 would amend the definition of an accredited investor to include individuals who receive advice from certain professionals, which could open up new investment opportunities for everyday Americans.
There are also significant proposals targeting labor and education. House Bill 9571 seeks to establish a minimum wage for all federal contractors. Meanwhile, House Bill 9580 aims to repeal the 90-10 rule as it pertains to proprietary schools under Title IV of the Higher Education Act of 1965.
For our agricultural and environmental listeners, House Bill 9572 would amend the Food Security Act of 1985 to clarify which lands are eligible for enrollment in the Conservation Reserve Program. And on the housing front, we have 2 key bills. House Bill 9573 aims to provide tax incentives for certain residential rental properties to encourage housing development, while House Bill 9584 would require the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development to reallocate unobligated funding for tenant-based assistance to public housing agencies that are in dire need of more funding.
There is also a global health initiative in House Bill 9583, which provides support for scaling up global access to multiple micronutrient supplements and other cost-effective maternal and child interventions. And to protect the integrity of our democratic processes, House Bill 9577 would amend the Help America Vote Act of 2002 to affirm access for congressional election observers to primary elections for federal office.
We also have House Bill 9579, which seeks to make improvements in the Office for Civil Rights and Civil Liberties of the Department of Homeland Security. And finally, on a symbolic and foundational note, House Bill 9589 aims to reaffirm the Declaration of Independence as an organic law of the United States.
That is a very diverse slate of legislation. Let us look at what has been happening on the House floor lately, as documented in the congressional records. On July 2, 2026, the House conducted routine business, including designating a Speaker pro tempore, opening with a prayer, and the Pledge of Allegiance. But they also noted that a major piece of housing legislation, House Resolution 6644, which aims to increase the national housing supply, has officially been presented to the President.
That is a critical step for that housing bill. The record from July 2nd also shows a large volume of executive communications from the District of Columbia regarding local governance, as well as several committee reports covering small business support, public health initiatives, and education policy. There was also a proposal introduced to create a National Service Animals Monument. The House adjourned that day until July 6th.
If we look back just a couple of days to the June 30th record, the atmosphere was quite different during the morning hour debates. A major point of contention was the 10th anniversary of PROMESA, the federal law handling Puerto Rico's fiscal oversight. Representative Hernandez of Puerto Rico spoke out sharply against it, calling the legislation a democratic tragedy that undermines local self-governance through an unelected fiscal oversight board.
That was a powerful moment of dissent. On a more celebratory note, members also honored several community milestones, including the 150th anniversary of Allen, Texas, and the 75th anniversary of the North Texas Municipal Water District. They also recognized the 100th anniversary of the Buffalo Criterion, which is the oldest Black-owned business in Erie County.
It is wonderful to see those local histories recognized on the national stage. Members also paid tribute to the late Dominic P. Strangio and community leader Spencer Leak Jr., and expressed gratitude to the American Legion for hosting the Moving Wall Vietnam Memorial.
The June 30th session wrapped up with reflections on the upcoming 250th anniversary of the United States, emphasizing our nation's foundational commitment to liberty and self-governance.
As we look ahead, listeners should keep an eye out for the upcoming debates on the FISA extension under House Resolution 8035, the progress of the Consolidated Appropriations Act, and whether the Housing Supply Bill, House Resolution 6644, gets signed into law by the President.
That is all for today's episode of Capital Catch-Up. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.